Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. I've got Mark Smith from Bija Company on the show with us today, bija.co. All right, bijaco.com, excuse me. All right, now, Mark, welcome back to the show. I want to talk about firefighting prevention and opportunities.
Absolutely. Firefighting is an indication that the executive has a broken system. The reality is that a fire is usually something that occurs outside of your normal business rules. And it causes a fire, because if there was a rule on how to handle it, then you wouldn't have a fire.
Okay, well put.
So our point here is that anytime you have a fire, it indicates one of three fundamental things. Thing number one is you got a broken system, you got to go fix it. You have to create a business rule that handles this type of situation, or extend the business rules that you already have to handle the situation. Number two is if it happens with the same person on a regular basis, you probably have a psychopath in your work, in your works.
We've all met those.
Yes, we have had to fire them in the past. And so that means you're going to have to go in and fix somebody. That's an interesting challenge. And if it happens to the detriment of your organization, it may mean that you have a pirate in the company. Michael, have you ever run across a situation where somebody came in and tried to steal a company by creating chaos?
Yes, and then running off with the clients.
Indeed. It's an ugly situation. Unfortunately, it happens in smaller businesses. Frequently, it happens in big businesses almost regularly. They're called corporate raiders.
That's right.
And so you have to be completely aware of the fact that if you have lots of fires originating from a certain location, that you could have a corporate raider after your business. You got to get on top of that.
Let's talk about the prevention part on that, because I'd rather prevent a fire than have to put one out.
All right. So rule number one for prevention is this: you only fight a fire once.
Okay.
If you fight it more than once, you've got a real issue. Now, fighting a fire one time is usually part of how we develop systems. And the reason why is that we can't think of all the complexity that may occur as we're putting together a business system full of business rules that allow us to operate.
Right.
And situations change. We might bring a new product to market that goes into a new part of the world that we're just not familiar with all the cultural impact or business aspects. And so we have fires that show up just because we're paying the stupid tax, quite frankly, of just not knowing everything we need to know. So the idea here is you create a system that if a fire occurs, you fix the system, and realize that fighting fires is just part of the development of an organization. And the second component of fighting fires is always delegate to the location where the fire can be put out. So that means as the CEO, you're not jumping and putting out every fire that shows up. What you want to do is teach your people to have a culture of problem solving. And so tell them if there's a fire, they need to show up with a solution. And then they, as the executive, can either accept it, modify it, or reject it.
Good point.
And so therefore, you're not having to put out every fire that lands on your desk. Some you'll have to. But the idea is if you have a good team, they should be able to fight that fire knowing that they're supposed to show up with firefighting tools that then you can accept, modify, or reject.
So I can see the prevention part is on the intake interview. That's definitely one of the main questions. How are you at problem solving, and what is your propensity for being able to take the lead to resolve issues and come up with solutions rather than pass through the problem?
Right on. In fact, it can be even more interesting than that. We can create a little scenario. We can create a little theater during the interview where somebody shows up with a fire and you turn to them and say, how would you handle this?
Brilliant. Brilliant. Are there any more?
That's enough for today. I think we've covered enough for the time being. You would put those into operation, you're going to take care of 80% of your fires.
Great.
And if you need more, you can always call me.
We will. All right, Mark, thanks for being a guest on today's show.
Always a delight. Learn more at the executivestrategysummit.com.
All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.